So here's today's trumpet thought for you. And I'm sitting here practicing, and I'm not practicing for anything in particular. I'm just practicing, which I wish I could tell you was a daily, regular occurrence over here at the Trumpet Thought's house. But I tend to noodle or practice for something specific. And I don't do that every day, which is not my thought. My thought is that I should practice every day, and so should you. And like taking a day off here and there is good, and especially if your chops are tired, taking a day off is the best thing to do. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is improvement and practicing in general. And I think a lot of trumpet players, certainly myself included, but I think a lot of definitely non-professional players fall victim to this. I bet even most collegiate players, and then everyone below that, probably the same, is that we practice to the point of failure, and we practice with the idea that we're gonna like tear down muscle and that we're gonna get better that way. And I just want to get you to reframe your thinking on that, because if you've done any research on this at all, you'll probably know that practicing to the point of failure isn't very good. But honestly, practicing to the point where things stop working, or they aren't, where the system kind of breaks down, your playing breaks down, that's also not particularly helpful. All that leads you to do is basically just to fall into bad habits. It's one of the reasons why the rest as much as you play mantra is so important. And I think part of that is because people assume it's really just for the physical rest. That is obviously a component of it. But the other part of it is to get your mind kind of reset. So whatever exercise that you're working on that moment, you can be focused and give it your best attention, because you really want to see yourself overall kind of improve throughout your practice session. And so I want you to stop and think about your average practice session. Are you getting better throughout that session, or are you getting worse? Because for me, I can answer that. Throughout most of my life, as I would practice, I would play worse throughout the practice. And if that's you, I want to challenge you to stop that. I want to challenge you to practice so that you're on a slight incline. You're getting better. And the minute that getting better ceases, then you're done for that session. Maybe for the day, but you're definitely done for that session. And don't just keep pushing through it and forcing your way through it, because then you're practicing something you don't want to get good at. And then the other thought that I want to kind of maybe leave you with too is the idea of getting better. Getting better doesn't have to mean that something has solved. It just needs to be that there's an improvement. And if we think about kind of like the law of compounding interest, I know that doesn't exactly apply over to that, but it's over to trumpet practice, but it's a neat like mental exercise. If we think about that, basically, if we can get 1% better every day, within only 70 days, we would be 100% better than where we were. And so obviously that metric isn't going to quite line up for us, because, getting trumpet isn't like always a linear progression where it's just constantly moving up. You kind of have ups and downs. But you should definitely see over a relatively short period of time a general upward progression. And maybe 1% isn't the number, maybe it's 0.5% or something like that. But you kind of get the idea that if instead of thinking that we need to make big gains in every single practice, and we need to like work hard and push ourselves and no pain, no gain and all that kind of stuff, if we got rid of that whole type of thinking and just thought like, I'm going to work on what I'm going to work on as long as I sound good and as long as it continues to get better. And if it stops getting better, then I'm done, because now I'm learning things I don't want to learn. I'm learning how to play even though I sound bad. And that's not really a skill we want to develop. So I want you to kind of think through that. I know this is something that I struggle with personally. As I'm practicing today, this is why I'm making this video, because I'm struggling with it right now. I've got this checklist of things I want to do. I want to kind of be able to say that I got through it. And I'm not really caring a whole lot if I'm getting better, as much as I am just like, okay, well, I practiced everything on that checklist. And really the point should be like to take my time and just to like play as musically and with as good of a sound with all my fundamentals as I can. and just make that easier and easier and better and better. And the minute that stops working, stop. And if I can stop and kind of assess and fix it, great. But if it's become like my brain's getting tired or my muscles are getting tired or whatever, then I'm done for that session or done for that day. And I can promise you, if you'll follow that same habit, if you'll develop that habit, you will improve at a much faster rate. A much faster rate. I have been fortunate to take lessons with so many world-class players, and all of them follow this advice. This is where I got this from. All of them do it. Never met any world-class player who told me that they routinely practice to the point of failure. Never. If there's a world-class player out there that you happen to be watching Trumpet Thoughts and you do that, please comment and let me know, and you think that this is a good thing for people to do. Now, there's certain exercises that you might practice to failure. You know, if you're doing some kind of long-setting fatigue exercise, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about something specific that you're doing for whatever reason for that. I'm talking about just your overall general practice, lip slurs, scales, you know, melodic studies, transposition, multiple tonguing, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, one other caveat on that. I just thought about it with tonguing. Tonguing you might practice to failure. That one you might. Because your tongue is a muscle and it can get it can get much stronger more quickly. So that one I could see maybe doing that to failure, like at the end of your practice session or something. That you're not going to really hurt anything with that. But everything else, I want you to be really cautious about it and think about it. Okay? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Bye.